It was one of those crisp evenings in late spring, when the entire world feels like it's painted in warm pastels. The faint scent of blooming cherry blossoms danced in the air as I stood outside my house, nervously clutching the invitation to the charity gala. The crystal-embellished invitation felt heavy with significance, and I couldn't shake the mix of excitement and anxiety bubbling inside me. This was the kind of event where high-profile players mingled and exchanged knowing glances, a world so unfamiliar to me. But then there was Ethan, my son, his azure eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Mom, can you believe I got a ticket? Even if it's the cheapest seat," he exclaimed, his voice full of hope. I forced a smile, but my heart sank a little. "Yeah, sweetie, but it's just in the back. You know." "Still going to be fun," he chirped back, unaware of my internal struggle. As he waved goodbye with a wide grin, I took a moment to soak in the sight of him. There he was, my shy little boy, transitioning into a young man before my very eyes. The grand hall of the gala took my breath away. A cascade of glittering chandeliers hung from the ceiling like stars, illuminating the perfectly arranged tables adorned in gold and white. The rich scent of gourmet food wafted through the air, mingling with laughter and conversation. I felt out of place amidst the polished elegance surrounding me, continually scanning the room for Ethan, who had disappeared into the throng. I took my seat at a table far from the stage, feeling the energy shift as the MC took the microphone. A wave of applause erupted as various honorees were introduced, and I felt the warmth of a community celebrating itself. Just when I thought the evening would flow as planned, the unexpected happened. And now, please welcome our guest of honor, Ethan Sparks. The room fell into a hush, whispers trailing like ribbons through the crowd. I froze, gripping the table for dear life, my heart racing. "Ethan?" I whispered to myself, astonished. I watched as he made his way to the stage, his previous shyness evaporating like morning mist. As he stood confidently at the microphone, his gaze steady and determined, I felt a nervous thrill prickle my spine. "Thank you, everyone," he began, voice clear and resonant. "I'm here not for the recognition, but for those who've inspired me every day." The room leaned in, curiosity palpable, as Ethan unfolded tales of compassion, humility, and change, moments I had never known. With every word, layers of his character unfurled before me, revealing a quiet hero I had yet to fully discover. I was engulfed in a tide of emotions, joy, pride, and bewilderment washing over me as the audience erupted in applause. It was a roller coaster I couldn't have prepared for, and I realized sometimes the least expected can take center stage. The exhilarating evening promised to bond us in ways I never anticipated. But as I stood there, I wondered what had truly motivated him. What else was hidden beneath the surface? Before we dive deeper into Ethan's inspiring journey, a quick reminder for those following our stories: YouTube has been making some surprising changes. Make sure you're still subscribed and leave a like to support our channel. Now, what else could Ethan reveal on this extraordinary night? The applause echoed through the grand hall, a thunderous wave that crashed upon me like a sudden storm. I watched as Ethan stood at the microphone, his figure illuminated under the soft glow of the chandelier, transforming from my shy boy into a beacon of confidence. The audience leaned forward, their attention fully captured. Each pair of eyes sparkled with wonder, yet I felt a tremor of uncertainty in my chest. How had this happened? What had he done to earn this recognition? "Thank you, everyone," Ethan began, his voice steady yet warm. "I'm here not for the recognition, but for those who've inspired me every day." A few murmurs rippled through the crowd, and I found my heart racing at the sight of his bravery. This was not the timid child I knew. This was a young man ready to share his soul. As he spoke, I caught snippets of his stories, tales of small acts of kindness that had spiraled into something far greater than he could have ever imagined. Like the time I volunteered at the shelter, he said, his gaze sweeping over the sea of intrigued faces. I met a young girl who just needed someone to listen. We colored together, and in her laughter, I saw hope. I felt my heart swell, tears stinging my eyes as I listened to his words. The room was thick with silence, the kind that wraps around you like a warm blanket. It was almost as if time had paused, and each moment stretched out, creating an atmosphere of reverence. I could hear a soft rustling, the sound of tissues being pulled, and I realized others were moved just as I was. It's not just about big achievements, it's about those little moments that can change lives, he continued, his conviction ringing true. As he shared another story about a local boy who was bullied, the tension in the room soared. I stood up for him. I realized it doesn't take much to be a friend, just a little courage. Gasps filled the room, and I felt a surge of pride mixed with disbelief. This was my son, standing firm, speaking truths I wasn't fully aware he had grasped. I could see whispers exchanged among guests. Glances pointed my way, perhaps reflecting their surprise about the quiet kid they assumed was a mere observer. I suddenly became acutely aware of the emotional journey unfolding between us, a bond deepening through his experiences. And that's what I want all of us to remember, Ethan concluded, his fervor igniting a wave of applause. We each hold the power to be the change. Let's never underestimate our ability to impact one another. As the crowd erupted in cheers, I stood frozen, overwhelmed by a cocktail of emotions that threatened to spill over. This unexpected evening had morphed into a profound revelation about my son, a glimpse into a life I had not yet explored. What else lay beneath the surface of his gentle exterior? What secrets had he kept that now unraveled before me like a beautifully crafted tapestry? Just when I thought the night couldn't hold more surprises, the MC approached the stage again, whispering something in Ethan's ear. A smirk spread across his face, but a cloud of curiosity loomed over me. What could possibly follow this heartfelt journey? Before we unravel this intriguing turn of events, a quick note for all our viewers. YouTube has been making unexpected changes lately. Please check your subscription status and drop a like to keep supporting our stories. Now, what twist awaits us next as Ethan steps closer to taking the stage again? The applause washed over Ethan like a metaphorical tide, lifting him higher with each clap. I barely recognized him now, standing tall at the microphone, the center of attention. My heart raced as the audience surged with appreciation. Yet I still struggled to process the depth of the stories I had just heard. What did this mean for my perceptions of him? My shy little boy who had morphed into a young man of conviction. "Thank you, everyone," he began again after the applause subsided, his voice ringing in the stillness. "The stories I've shared tonight are just a reflection of what we can do together." A ripple of enthusiasm flowed through the crowd, eager for more. I swallowed hard and leaned forward, caught in an emotional whirlwind. "Mom, I never told you this, but there's something else," he said, his tone shifting slightly as he swept his gaze across the room. "I've been working on a project for months now, and it brings together all of you, our community, to make a real difference." My breath caught in my throat. What was he talking about? My excitement was mixed with fear. How much had he kept from me? And why? "Project Save," he declared, a sparkle of excitement lighting up his eyes. "We want to create a safe space for kids who feel alone. It's about mentorship, friendship, and breaking the cycle of bullying." Gasps echoed throughout the hall, and whispers danced through the audience. I glanced around, catching the expressions of people who now seemed to see him differently. A leader, a visionary, I need your help, Ethan continued, unwavering. We want everyone here to join in. Together, we can build something incredible, a program that will change lives. The room hung on his every word, captivated. My mind raced. How could my son, who often shied away from the spotlight, take such a bold step forward? And then there was an unexpected shift. The MC reappeared, a playful grin on his face, and leaned in to whisper something to Ethan. I could barely hear what was being said, but Ethan's laughter rang out, clear and infectious, a sound that felt like sunshine breaking through the clouds of the night. Before I share this surprise, let's bring a few more friends on stage, Ethan said, inviting a couple of local students who had volunteered with him. The atmosphere shifted yet again, morphing from reverence to jubilant energy. I felt the tension in the air crackle as I leaned forward, catching whispers of their names, Tom and Lily, kids I had seen Ethan hanging out with during community events. What were they doing up there? My heart swelled with pride, but questions flooded my mind. What more was Ethan planning? Did he truly grasp the immense responsibility he was stepping into? Before we delve deeper into this unexpected collaboration and its implications, here's a moment for all of you enjoying our stories. YouTube is making shifts, so do check if you're still subscribed and drop us a like if you're loving the journey. Now, what else could we uncover in this fascinating night of revelation? The applause washed over Ethan like a metaphorical tide, lifting him higher with each clap. At that moment, I barely recognized the boy who used to shy away in the corners of the playground, now transformed into a confident young man commanding the attention of the gala's elite. My heart raced as the audience surged with appreciation, but I struggled to process the depth of the stories I had just heard. What did this mean for my perceptions of him, my shy little boy who had morphed into a young man of conviction? Thank you, everyone. He began again after the applause subsided, his voice ringing through the stillness like a bell. The stories I've shared tonight are just a reflection of what we can do together. A ripple of enthusiasm flowed through the crowd, eager for more. I swallowed hard and leaned forward, caught in an emotional whirlwind, half proud and half dazed. Mom, I never told you this, but there's something else I want to share, he said, his tone shifting slightly as he swept his gaze across the room. I've been working on a project for months now, and it brings together all of you, our community, to make a real difference. My breath caught in my throat. What was he talking about? My excitement was mixed with fear. How much had he kept from me, and why? Project Save, he declared, a sparkle of excitement igniting in his azure eyes. We want to create a safe space for kids who feel alone. It's about mentorship, friendship, and breaking the cycle of bullying. Gasps echoed throughout the hall, and whispers danced through the audience. I glanced around, catching the expressions of people who now seemed to see him differently. No longer the quiet kid, but a leader, a visionary. I need your help, Ethan continued, unwavering. We want everyone here to join in. Together, we can build something incredible, a program that will change lives. The room hung on his every word, captivated. My mind raced. How could my son, who often preferred to stay in the shadows, take such a bold step forward? The MC reappeared, a playful grin on his face, and leaned in to whisper something to Ethan. Laughter erupted from Ethan, a sound that felt like sunshine piercing through the clouds of the evening. Before I share this surprise, let's bring a few more friends on stage, Ethan said, beckoning some local students who had volunteered with him. My heart swelled as Tom and Lily, familiar faces from the community, joined him. The atmosphere shifted yet again, transforming from reverent silence to jubilant energy. Here we go, Ethan announced, playful excitement crackling through his tone. We have a video presentation to show you all." The screen behind him flickered to life, revealing clips of their time spent working together. Hours spent collecting donations, organizing events, and supporting each other through school projects. Laughter and insight flooded the screen, juxtaposed with testimonials from the kids they had helped. A montage of raw emotions played out on the screen, a kaleidoscope of joy, worry, and ambition. I remembered those weekends he had spent away from home, leaving me wondering where he was and what he was up to. Now, watching him shine, I felt that mix of pride and guilt seep into my heart. I had been oblivious, assuming he was just another teenager trying to find his way. As the video concluded, applause erupted like fireworks, and a wave of cheers followed. Ethan beamed, clearly touched by the encouragement. "But that's just the beginning. Each of you has the power to make this project a reality," he proclaimed, inspiring fresh cheers from the crowd, echoing with an infectious optimism. My heart raced as I glimpsed the rising excitement in those around me. I couldn't shake the nagging thought. Was he really ready for such responsibility? The pressures of leadership weighed heavily on my mind, and I glanced around at the audience, all poised to support what seemed like a dream, born from the depths of his compassion. With a deep breath, I reminded myself that this was no longer just about me. This was about him stepping into his purpose. And as the night wore on, I couldn't help but be enveloped in that bittersweet pride that tethered my past worries to his hopeful future. In the middle of the rising tide of applause, my phone buzzed in my pocket, pulling me briefly out of the moment. It was a message from a family friend, someone who had witnessed Ethan's transformation. "Congratulations! I had no idea Ethan was into this. Incredible to see him taking charge." It lifted my spirit but prompted more questions. How much had I missed? Where had Quentin, my usually intrusive inner dialogue, been as Ethan had started to develop into this philanthropic young man? I couldn't find the answer amid the noise and jubilation, yet I wanted to know more about the motivations driving him. The audience continued sharing their admiration as Ethan introduced his friends from school who had supported him through these ventures. I marveled at the camaraderie echoing in that moment, the way these teenagers rallied together, establishing a foundation rooted in kindness. It struck me again, this was deeper than I had realized. What paths lay ahead for them? Just as I thought the evening could not yield more surprises, the MC called Ethan back to the stage for a final announcement. The anticipation in the room thickened. Every pair of eyes was glued to him, eager for what he would say next. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, the rush of wind promising something exhilarating. Ethan glanced around, and I could see a slight tremble in his hands, a reminder that even the most confident among us can feel vulnerable. "So, to get this project off the ground, we need funding to ensure it's sustainable," he began, the serious undertone in his voice drawing hushed attention. "That's why I'm asking the community to consider supporting our cause tonight." Gasps rippled through the audience, and I felt my heart race again. Had it really come to this? Fundraising was a serious undertaking. What would come next? But as I looked at Ethan, his resolute expression told me he was ready to embrace this challenge. "We'll be collecting donations at each table tonight to get Project Save started," he continued. "Any amount counts. It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to come from the heart." A round of murmurs erupted, a mixture of surprise and excitement crept through the crowd. Would people really donate? The evening had already amplified emotions, but now it added another layer of tension and curiosity. The audience's reaction seemed critical. Could they be as touched as I was? What had my sons stumbled into, and could we ask the community to rally behind such an endeavor? Just then, a table to my left erupted into applause, and one of Ethan's teachers stood up, pivoting to address the crowd. "Count me in. My class will host an event for donations next week. An energetic wave of support cascaded through the gala, igniting momentum that encouraged others to follow suit. The energy within the room shifted remarkably. People began discussing plans, ideas sparking like fireflies against the backdrop of the grand hall. My heart soared amidst the laughter and cheer, wondering what the next chapter of this story would hold for my son. Who would join him in this fight for kindness? What adventures awaited them in their quest to change lives? As the excitement crescendoed, my fingers danced anxiously on the edge of my chair. I knew this was just the beginning. Before we dive deeper into the community's response and Ethan's eloquence working its magic, here's a reminder for all of our viewers. YouTube has been adjusting its policies, so be sure to check that subscription status and give us a thumbs up. Now, as the world begins to shift around Ethan's project, what revelations wait in the wings of this inspiring night? The applause washed over me like a metaphorical tide, lifting my son higher with every cheer. The boy who once lingered shyly at the edges of rooms now stood confidently at the microphone, taking center stage. My heart raced, embracing the mix of pride and bewilderment surging through me. What had transformed Ethan into this young man brimming with purpose? "Thank you, everyone," he began anew, his voice clear and strong. "Tonight I want to talk about something that has been close to my heart." As he spoke, the atmosphere shifted. The room was thick with anticipation, eyes locked on his every move. I leaned in closer, feeling both nervous and excited, barely able to breathe. "I never mentioned this before," he continued, fidgeting slightly with the microphone. "But I've been working on a project called Project Save." My heart skipped a beat. What was he talking about? Suddenly, flashes of my weekends without him, days spent worrying instead of asking the right questions, flashed before me. The audience buzzed with stirring curiosity. "Project Save aims to create a safe space for those who feel alone," he said, stealing glances at his friends beside him, who nodded in encouragement. "We want to break the cycle of bullying through mentorship and friendship." Gasps echoed throughout the hall, and I could see how his passion ignited a shift in perception among those present. Ethan's courage was unmasking a hero I never knew existed within him. As he spoke of partnerships with local charities and schools, I felt warmth suffuse my chest. Each word painted the commitment he had to better his community, drawing inspiration from moments that seemed small but were monumental in their impact. Stories of kids he had supported or simply listened to came to life. "It's the little moments that make the biggest difference," he said. The MC leaned in, a broad grin on his face, and whispered something to Ethan, eliciting a burst of laughter from my son. I couldn't shake the feeling of joy swelling within me, mixed with concern. Had I truly been unaware of this spark in my son? Before I share our next exciting surprise, let's bring a few special guests to the stage, Ethan announced, gesturing towards Tom and Lily, familiar faces from his volunteer work. The crowd cheered, a fresh wave of energy coursing through the room as they joined him. These young people had become a source of inspiration in Ethan's journey. With the stage set, Ethan's enthusiasm became contagious, drawing in smiles and cheers. "We have a video presentation to show," he said, excitement bubbling in his voice. The screen flickered and a montage of memories played. Clips of them volunteering, planning events, and sharing laughter. My heart swelled at the sight of these teenagers banding together, their commitment illuminated in vibrant colors, their stories weaving a backdrop against the elegant decor of the gala. As the video ended, applause erupted, and I felt the warmth spreading through my chest. Ethan stood radiant, floating on the wave of applause, yet a flicker of seriousness emerged in his tone. "To get this project off the ground, we need your help." My heart jumped into my throat, questions swirling. Was he ready for this responsibility? We'll be collecting donations at each table tonight to fuel Project Save. The room fell silent with tension, disbelief mixed with intrigue as his words settled in. It felt surreal to imagine my son had transformed from a quiet observer to a persuasive advocate, captivating a room full of influential people. From the back, someone shouted, "Count me in," as Ethan's art teacher stood up, a proud smile on her face. One voice sent a wave of enthusiasm coursing through the room, and laughter combined with cheers resounded as others joined in. "Let's rally behind this!" I couldn't contain the swell of pride and astonishment. This was more than a fundraising effort. It was a call to action, an awakening for everyone present. All the worries, uncertainties I had about Ethan's journey faded as I witnessed the collective spirit of the community coming alive. Before I could catch my breath, I was pulled from my reverie as the MC stepped back onto the stage, ready to facilitate this unfolding story. Just as I thought the night couldn't yield more surprises, he leaned over and whispered something into Ethan's ear, prompting another joyful laugh. "Now, let's kick off our first fundraiser right here tonight." The applause grew even louder, and I could hardly believe everything happening before my eyes. What started as my anxiety about Ethan's cheap ticket had morphed into something extraordinary. As I stood there, I realized something. It wasn't just about my son taking the stage. It was about how far he had come. Suddenly, everything about the evening glimmered with new promise. Before we dive further into this exciting journey ahead, for Ethan, here's a quick reminder. YouTube has been adjusting what channels can offer, so make sure you're subscribed and give us a like if you're enjoying our adventures. Now, as the community prepares to rally behind my son's vision, what challenges and triumphs lie ahead in this remarkable journey?